Hello, I'm Judge Sapphire, and I'm extremely late in talking about this, but I wanted to share my opinions about Star Wars Visions, which releases on the 22nd of September on Disney Plus, which is actually tomorrow. The trailer for it released on the 17th of August and gave Star Wars fans so much to look forward to. Since Star Wars Visions will be 7 short films created in different styles of Japanese animation, we are going to get such beautiful artistic scenes as teased not only in the trailer but also in the teaser images that were released months ago. A lot of my thoughts and theories that I'm going to be sharing in this video are actually mostly based on the first images we got, but I am going to talk about the trailer as well and what I found in the trailer, just to share with you some more theories, because the trailer gave us so much. But I won't be talking about every single element of the trailers. I am just picking my favourite parts and then expressing those as best as I can. So, disclaimer, just warning you, all my theories and comments shared in this video are my opinions, and if you don't share them, that's okay. My opinions don't reflect everyone's opinions, and I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone either. I'm just a simple person trying to make their way in the universe. I just wanted to share my thoughts and see what others think regarding Star Wars Visions. I am in no way linked to Lucasfilm or Disney, so I don't claim any rights or any awesomeness that the artwork within this video shows. These images are from the internet that anyone can access through Google, or even see within the Star Wars Visions trailer itself. With that said, let's get right to it. Now, when I heard that Star Wars Visions was going to be short films done in Japanese style animation, I immediately thought about the animated movies, which is The Animatrix and Batman Gotham Knight. Now, each one has short movies in it, so I do consider them one whole movie each. But I'm going to mostly talk about Batman Gotham Knight because my knowledge on the Animatrix is very limited, as I have not actually seen it yet. With that said, I'm just going to talk briefly about Batman Gotham Knight. Now, there's many mixed feelings about this movie / short films, because some of the animation isn't fantastic in at least 2 of them, but on a whole, personally, I love it. The animation in some parts is absolutely spectacular and it's so beautiful. Like, we get elements like the Dark Knight animated movies, like seeing how amazing Batman is and like how stone cold he is in the face of danger. He is absolutely amazing. Japanese animation works perfectly with this character, and we get to see him express himself in so many different medias, not just as a myth, which we especially see in the first one, the first short, because there's loads of people firing all these different opinions of what he is, what he isn't, and it's incredible to see all the different styles. And as well as see story-wise what Batman goes through, not just physically but mentally as well. Working through pain is especially a good example of this, and expresses so much of what Batman views and how he sees things, and how he has to learn to cope with his pain in a different way. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a beautiful animated short. And it's just glorious how each one has a different perspective on Batman. Like how he looks, as you can see from all these, he has a different look in each one, which is perfect. A lot of people don't like the look in 2 of them, and I personally agree with both of them, but on a whole, most of this animation is actually on par. So the idea of short films done in the style of Japanese animation is new to Star Wars, but isn't new on a whole to other franchises. As you can see, Animatrix and DC Comics have done it, and there's probably more, but they are probably not as well known. But I think this is a big deal for Star Wars and Disney in general, because crossing into a whole new art style for them is targeting a whole new audience, especially those who prefer watching anime. There's a lot of people these days that don't watch anything outside of anime, but this might coax them into saying, come watch this, it's Star Wars based anime. And maybe through that they could watch the movies or the TV series, especially the TV series because they're animated as well. But on a whole, new audiences are going to be attracted to this. And it's going to be amazing to see how this impacts the media in the sense of like culture with Star Wars and what other cosplays and other animations may come off of this. You never know what it might expand in the future with Japanese animation. They might go further and make another series of short films, because they could touch upon so many different periods of time within the Star Wars mythology. With Batman, it's plain and simple. You know who he is, you know his story. But with Star Wars, you can really touch upon like Old Republic, even after Return of the Jedi. There's so much, and you don't even have to just focus on the main characters. You can focus on, and certainly not as well known characters. May even do a short about Hera from Rebels, or a short about any of the characters from Rogue One, because they just, I know they're getting their own series soon, but they deserve a lot more, because that Rogue One was amazing and underrated in the Star Wars. I think Rogue One also got outshone by the sequels, sadly, because it was a standalone sort of thing. It didn't contain all these new characters that look bright and fun. But with that said, let me get to my favourite part, which is the theories. Now, I chose this one because this one is the one I have the most theories about. So this is going to be longer than the other ones I'm going to talk about. So to begin with, I just love theorizing. And there's a lot I can talk about with this one. So I know what I'm going to say, a lot of it's going to be wrong. But personally, I don't mind. I just want to share my opinions and what I think is going to happen. There's a lot of ideas related to this style that I'm convinced is going to relate to cloning. And this is why, this image, when I first saw this months ago, I was like, I recognize this item right here. And to me, it looks like a hand in a jar. Like, to me, that's what it looks like. Just a hand in a jar. And the person holding it appears to be an anime version of Luke. He's got the dark clothing, the blonde hair. The style of the clothing is very similar to Luke. It's just the white sleeves that are different. But I'm sure this is Luke, considering the stormtroopers there as well. I don't know any other character that one got the hand cut off that's blonde and wears dark clothes at the time of Empire or post-Empire. I reckon this is probably post-Empire, because there's no one else in canon now that we know of that is apprentice to Palpatine or whatever, unless Mara Jade got canonized. I don't know. But anyway, I reckon this is Luke. I reckon this is his hand that got cut off by Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. That's what I reckon. So it's nothing new. No offense. Like the idea of cloning from a hand. Now, I brought Doctor Who into this because I was a Doctor Who fan, massive Doctor Who fan. And this was a massive thing for a while. We see it in Torchwood, I think, to begin with, that the Doctor's hand is in this jar, and then the Doctor ends up with it on his TARDIS. But the Doctor, unlike Luke, sadly, he's able to grow his hand back. And it was in a Christmas special. He challenged the Sycorax to a duel lost his hand, and then just because he had regeneration energy, he just grew it back. I think everyone in Star Wars wish they could have done that, just grow back limbs, especially Luke at this moment. But with that said, the comparison is just so similar. Probably because Doctor Who came out years and years after Empire Strikes Back. And it's probably like a reference or, something to say, oh yeah, we know about Star Wars. But the Doctor's hand being cut off then gets turned into a human version of the Doctor, which a lot of people would recognise. And that's all thanks to Donna, sadly. But the fact that cloning or doppelganging characters is done a lot in Doctor Who is nothing new. In fact, it is done a lot. It's like not just in the new ones, but in the old ones too. And that's why I think Luke's hand is going to be used in some kind of cloning process. Even if it's not the clone of Luke that we know in the comics, it's probably going to be a female clone. Now, why do I say a female clone? Look at her. She has almost identical features to Luke. She is just literally Luke with long hair and red eyes. That's literally all the differences. And considering the trailer has these hints of like growing babies and having specimens in tubes, or tanks, to me, that just shows, oh yeah, we're going to get cloning. Especially since we just had Bad Batch, which has loads to do with cloning. And to be honest, with the ninth episode of Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, where basically the whole thing was about cloning, I just reckon they're going to touch upon it in some way. Even if I'm wrong and this isn't Luke, it still looks like that person is a clone of this character. And it would be daft to think that it isn't Luke, considering we know this is taking place during or post-Empire. And with that said, there are a lot of similarities we can see, because a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but you can't clone a female, and that goes against the comics with Luke having a male clone. Right here, we can see that Jango has a clone, Omega, who's female. Now, this was brought in by Bad Batch, and loads of people got hyped. They're like, oh my gosh, Boba has a sister. And it's amazing. We don't really know too much about her, but what we can say at the moment is she is a clone of Jango who is female, and it's the first female clone we have seen in the Star Wars universe. But there's other universes too, where there are female clones. For instance, Marvel with Logan's daughter, and even Doctor Who again with his own daughter, Jenny, who has not returned since. But having that said, with the clones, like, there's also this hint of like, maybe she is related to Luke in some way because of the lightsabers. Now, obviously, I think that Luke is going to use his original Kyber crystal, and when I mean original, I mean Anakin's blue Kyber crystal, because as we can see in the trailer, his lightsaber lights up blue. So I reckon when his hand got cut off, the Kyber crystal was taken somewhere, and Luke finds it, and then he's managed to disarm his clone's, I'm going to call her sister, and he takes one of her lightsaber hilts and puts Anakin's Kyber crystal inside, seals it up, and ignites it, and then fights her. That's what I reckon, because as you can see, these look so similar. Like, you've got the same details. I just reckon he somehow manages to take one of her lightsabers and uses it to defend himself. in some way. But the lightsaber also looks similar to Darth Vader's, which is why I think she is also a clone of Luke. Because this could give us a reason why she's a Sith. Because she might want to honor Vader's memory by becoming a Sith and trying to finish what he started. Similar to another character in the sequels, who we know as Kylo or Ben Solo. So it could be on that premise as well, that she is a clone of Luke who wanted to honor Vader's memory. So she makes lightsabers inspired by Vader's lightsabers because she wants to become just like him, similar to Ben Solo. Now, speaking of lightsabers, and now I'm going to move away from that part of the animation. I'm going to move to one of these images that was released months ago. And speaking of lightsabers, we got a bunch here. I mean, he's got more than he needs. He's got them all the way around his belt. And I have a few theories of this one. Now, I didn't see this style properly in the trailer, but I want to share my thoughts on this one anyway. Because he's got so many lightsabers, and I'm presuming he's a Jedi as well, judging by the way he's dressed, judging by his long hair, and the fact that he's igniting it, you know, he looks like a Jedi. Like, he's got the light clothes, which are quite monk-like. Like, the Jedi are similar to monks. They're supposed to be. I reckon that this takes place either Republic or just post Order 66. And the reason why I say that is a hell of a lot of lightsabers for one Jedi to carry, because as I said, he doesn't need them. Now, there's only two reasons why you would carry that many lightsabers. If you're like someone, say, per se, General Grievous, you like to collect them, that is one reason that you could have so many lightsabers. But you could also be like Obi-Wan Kenobi, who carries them in honor of his fellow Jedi. As we can see from this model, he's carrying Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber. When obviously Qui-Gon was his master, and when he passed away, Obi-Wan obviously took it and used it to slice Darth Maul in half. So I reckon that this character either saw his fellow Jedi friends killed during Order 66, or him and his Jedi friends were cornered by clones and he was the only one to survive, and that's why he's got all their lightsabers. And they probably carry all that guilt with them, and we're going to follow that story if that comes up. But that's what I reckon anyway. And the reason why I also say is it's during either Republic or post Order 66 is because of the spaceship in the background. Now, the problem is with Republic, you can see a lot of features of the ships go into Empire, so they're very similar. But it does look more like a Star Destroyer than some of the Republic destroyers, because the features are just slightly more in line with what we see in the background there. So I reckon it is post Order 66. That's what I reckon anyway, just because of the amount of lightsabers and the spaceship in the background, and also because they're injured. The character is clearly injured, and I reckon that probably could be from being attacked by clones. But again, I'm not an expert at the time frames of things or of any Star Wars spaceship, but that's what I reckon. I reckon it takes place post Order 66, and he's carrying all the guilt of those he's lost during it. That's what I reckon anyway. And now I'm going to move on to my last thoughts and theories, and I'm going to move on to this image here. And this animation style is absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to see this one. Mostly because we get katana lightsabers, which I don't think we've ever seen before. And it's so late for us to have these. I really wish we could have had these earlier because they look absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look at that hilt. It's so much like an ancient katana. And I can't wait to see more of these, maybe in the future. I don't know, but hopefully we can. Now, I don't have many theories. I just have a lot of thoughts on this, and I just want to credit the fact that, like, we have a katana. We have a katana hilt lightsaber. It looks beautiful. When I was a kid, I always wanted a katana, and I had a plastic toy with version which was blue with gold, and I loved it to bits until it died because I was a bit rough with it. But I loved it. It was gorgeous. Like, the idea of, like, different styles. Like, we see it in Clone Wars series when the Padawans are building the lightsabers and they're all different and all unique to their personality. So wouldn't it make sense that we have a katana lightsaber hilt? But I also want to talk about the other lightsaber hilt, which is of the Jedi. Which, this is the thing. When I looked at the katana, I thought, ooh, could we be looking at an older, ancient part of the Star Wars mythology? Like maybe Old Republic, because we got these more ancient looking weapons. But when you look at the Jedi one, it looks very modern. It looks very clean, very smooth. And personally, I'm not a fan of it, because it either looks like a Temple bowling set, or it looks like a Dalek eye stalk. It doesn't look great as a lightsaber. It looks really bizarre compared to the katana. So I'm wondering what period of time this could be. I want to think it's Old Republic, because if it was at the time of the Clone Wars, it wouldn't make sense why there's a double-wielding Sith there. And, Darth Maul, Maul is, he's the only one we know who has a double-ended saber, but this one has two lightsabers, and he's wielding both of them. But at the time of the Republic, we only knew that about Palpatine and Tyrannus. We didn't know, and even though Darth Maul was presumed to be a Sith, he wasn't really a Sith. He was a Sith apprentice. He wasn't a Sith Lord, sadly. He doesn't get that title, similar to Anakin not getting his title. Oh well. But I really hope this is in an older period in time in the Star Wars mythology, because of how they look. They don't look like the Republic Jedi or Sith. And they can't be because of the Rule 2. And I'm wondering, does this take place after or before the Rule 2? Is this in a different part of the galaxy, so they don't know about each other? Which I highly doubt. But I'm wondering if this is in a more ancient time for the Star Wars mythology. And if it is, I would welcome it with open arms, because as much as I love seeing, like, the period of time in the Republic and Empire and post-Empire, I would like to see a bit more of how the Jedi temples formed to begin with. Because we haven't seen much of that. We haven't seen much to do with how they're created in the first place. We see a lot of temples, but I would love to see how they were built in the first place. Who built them? Why were they built? On what planets were they built? I would love to see that. So maybe this one will touch upon that. I doubt it. But hopefully, even if it's not in this short, maybe one short will show those. But yeah, that's all my thoughts about Star Wars Visions. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry I rambled, and I'm sorry I stuttered a bit. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway. These are just some of my thoughts. And feel free in the comments to share your own thoughts, what you may think happened. If there's anything I missed, feel free to comment that as well. And if you like this, I'm glad, because this is going to be something completely different for Star Wars fans. This is going to be so brand new, and I can't wait for it. So hopefully tomorrow we are not disappointed. So take care, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video.